Hello, everybody. My name is Bhavini Vyas. It is my pleasure and honor to be with you all today. Do you all know each other, at least the person that you're sat with or sat around? No, just take a moment to say hello and exchange names and stuff like that. I never like having a formal environment. And if you know the people next to you or you don't want to say hello because it might be your husband or your wife and you just really don't want to, say hello to the people in front of you and behind you. Let's like warm up this space a little bit, right? Feeling a little better? Yeah? It makes it feel a little bit like, rather than like, oh, I don't know who's around me and I'm just going to look in this direction. So we're going to keep it nice and relaxed and chilled. A short introduction for you all. So as I mentioned, my name is Bhavini Vyas. I am a mantra kirtan singer. I'm a devotional singer. I'm also a spiritual teacher, and I had the privilege of being for more than 10 years international faculty, traveling and teaching under Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar of the Art of Living Foundation. And I've taught people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all environments, from working with refugees to working with heads of states and embassies and things like that, and everything in between: colleges, universities, corporates, prisons, gangs, festivals. So all that to say, you're in safe hands with what we're about to do today. And if any question comes up at any time, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to get into conversation with you all. Does that sound good? Yeah? All right, great. Also must add that, I've been on this path for more than 30 years. Even though I don't look it. No, and I'm very honoured that my mum is here with me today at the festival. And the reason I'm on this path is because I had the privilege of being exposed to so many paths and cultures and teachers at a young age. So much philosophy, so much wisdom, so much knowledge. And so that really set me up with some solid foundations to live the life that I'm leading today and having the privilege to share all over the world. So, first question for all of you before we dive in today is, why are you here? I like my talks, my workshops, my courses to be quite interactive. It's not the Bhavini show. You're not here just to see me and listen to me talk. We're here for you, actually. So I'd love to hear from as many of you as possible. Why are you here? What has made you take some time out of this gorgeous festival to come and be in this lovely tent with the rest of us? Anyone can go first. Yeah. Oh, thank you. So she had joined the kirtan in the morning and enjoyed it so much, so she thought she'd come along. We're not doing that now, right? But I'll go. The vibes, yeah. And, I will, of course, introduce a little bit of mantra towards the end as well. So, okay, so you liked this morning and you thought, maybe there's something. I'll join. Okay, lovely. Anybody else? Pardon? The need to know more. Curiosity about? Mm-hmm. Yeah. How lovely. And then you ended up in this space. Just to know more. Okay, lovely. That curiosity, that longing to know more. Yes, did you have your hand up? Yeah. Oh, professional research. Oh no. I've got some beady eyes on me now. What is your research? You're welcome to. You're doing psychology. Oh, amazing. I did psychology at Edinburgh many, many moons ago. So, yes. Okay. Right. Yes, the talk. Yes. Lovely. About immortality, you've read. Okay. All right. Very nice. Okay, welcome. My pleasure. Anyone else? Why are you here? I need a few more answers. I won't bite. Go on, who's next? Yes. Oh. Okay. Yes. I'm very pleased to hear that. Well, that's the thing with this beautiful wisdom. We don't need to necessarily remember it right on the tip of our tongue and right on the front of our brains or in the front of our minds. It's when it takes its seat inside of us. And so that's okay. It doesn't matter if you don't remember. It's wonderful to have you back. And yourself, you had your hand raised. Oh, because she made you. Okay. I've got quite a wonderful range of reasons to be in the tent. Did you want to be here? Blink twice if you need help. We do. We do. We absolutely do all need help. Anyone else? I need a few more reasons for what we're doing here. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Good. So interested in the essence of immortality. Lovely. Someone here raise. Yes. I'm so sorry. I cannot hear you at all. Oh, you're here to challenge me. We can. That is beautiful. Yes. Lovely. Lovely. Anyone? Yes. Hi, Kath. Oh, thank you. That's very sweet, Jacob. Yes. Lovely to be here representing that. Okay, anyone else burning, giving me a reason for why we're here? Because everything that you've all mentioned, I want to incorporate it. So if anyone has any other reason for what has made them join today. Are we good? We can get started? Yeah? Okay. So it's good to know these reasons because it helps me understand where our minds are, where our intellects are when we come into a topic such as this. And the reason why this became one of my key talks, actually the festival asked me to do this particular talk again, because a few years ago I was under the Hay House. Do you know that publisher that does lots of spiritual books? I was being mentored by them to write a book as part of their diverse wisdom program, and it was about death. And in the process of writing that and researching lots of that, actually, the main thing that I came across is that ultimately, on some level, there has been this longing, this ancient yearning of mankind to experience immortality in some way or another. Because, on some level, many people are desperately afraid of death, of leaving this body, right? And I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands and reveal whether or not you are or are not afraid of death, right? But the one thing I would say about it is that it is the one certainty for every single one of us the moment we take birth on this planet. The moment we take birth on this planet, the one thing that is absolutely certain, absolutely guaranteed, is what? Death. That it's going to be time to go at some point or another, right? We're all agreed on that point. Yet, knowing this, it's one of the things as a society, particularly for those of us in Western society, it is one of the things that we talk about the least, that we prepare for the least, that we acknowledge the least, until we absolutely have to face it, right? Until we absolutely have to experience it, either by losing a loved one or when we're confronted by our own end, right? So it made me look into this notion of, there's so many epic stories and sagas and things about man's quest for this immortality, for this immortal life, for us to long, to lengthen our life, to long for a long life, and to live forever. You with me so far? Any questions so far before we go ahead? Yeah. So what I pose is that actually one of the main reasons why we want our lives to be longer, or why we want to experience life a little longer, is because we have the finite body, where we're limited by time, space, geography, politics, gender, education, all of the things that we're exposed to when we're in the body. Yet there's an understanding on some level of the self, of the soul, of our consciousness. Have we all at least had one experience in some way or another of that essence of who we really are? It's just for me to see where we are in the room, because I know that this festival has lots of meditators and people who've been on quite a long path. So feel free to raise your hand. Raise a hand with pride. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, raise a hand with pride. We've had a glimpse of the self. We've had a glimpse of that immortal self, right? With me? So when we're only identifying with this physical form, with the experiences that we have, with the milestones, with the achievements, with, the graduations, the marriages, the relationships, the births, the new house, the new job, the qualification, the divorce, the whatever it is that comes in that timeline, then we're just using those as markers of our life. Have you noticed that? Like, notice that when we're at school, right, what are we longing for when we're at school? What do we long for when we're kids? I can't wait to be a grown-up. I can't wait to be a bit older, right? We all had that to some extent. Then when you're a bit older and you're at university or going through your education, what's our next longing? What's our next desire when we're in that space? Talk to me. We already spoke. You guys know I like to have a back and forth. What do we long for when we're in that stage? Cast your mind back. Relationship, job, money, yeah. And then life moves on a bit, and then we get that thing. And then what happens? What's the next thing we long for once we've got that? Divorce, house, kids, whatever it is, right? To become a kid again, yeah. Oh gosh, I rushed through that. I want to go back to being a kid. And then what? Then what comes next after all of those? Yeah, wanting to just have a break, wanting to retire, wanting your kids to then get into the right school or the right university, get the right degree, find the right partner. It's this constant, endless chase, right? We're chasing these milestones, we're chasing these achievements, these experiences in our lives. But then what we end up missing out on when we're defining our life, not only by what we identify with in this physical form, in this finite body, with its finite capabilities, its finite skills, its limited awareness, its limited capacity to even experience, if you think of what we experience on the level of our five senses. And then we just use that limited identity, however we define ourselves, whether it's from the level of the ego or anything else, all of the labels that we give this form that we got this time around. Whether it's, I'm a woman, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a girlfriend, I'm a teacher, I'm a consultant, I'm a musician, whatever the ones we pick up along the way as we move through life, right? And then we use that as we identify with each of the different experiences we have along the way. We collect more labels, more qualifications, more, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a, you know, it goes on and on and on and on. And we think that those are the things that are going to make us, yeah, on some level or another, however spiritual we are. Or maybe it can be, I'm now a yogi, or now I'm a renunciate, or yeah, whatever it is. It doesn't just have to be associations in the material world. Oh, I'm a yoga teacher. Now I'm a meditation teacher. Now I'm a scholar, right? So it doesn't just have to be the worldly positions and desires that we have. But these markers, again, these limited markers that are associated with this form, keep us in that eternal chase, first of all. And what do we miss out on? All of those moments in between where our life is actually taking place. The moment one achievement or one big life milestone or one thing that we'd been hoping for, either for ourselves or for our loved ones, is achieved, what happens the moment we experience it and it's done? The next one, whether it's, you know, a wedding that you're planning for in a year and a half, or if it's your kids' A-levels, it is in however long, or da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah? Your partner's this, your siblings this. There's all these big other things that we put on. So the moment we experience something that we then accumulate as part of our, I'm an aunt, right? If someone else is having a baby, these labels that we accumulate onto ourselves. So what we're missing out on is actually observing those moments of life in between that actually help us understand how long our life truly is, right? When we're constantly chasing these markers, it gives us this notion, this impression, because we're in such a hurry to experience this life, right? We're in such a hurry to have all these experiences, to have these titles, to have these opportunities that we think mean so much to us, right? Seneca very famously said, life is long if you know how to live it, right? But often we're telling each other and telling ourselves, life is so short, life is too short. Life is too short to waste. Life is too short for this, too short for that, and we're constantly running and running and running. So how many people here want to be able to begin to associate or begin to experience more of their own immortality? Yeah? Some of you not so much, and that's okay. Some of you might be like, I am ready to go. And I understand that feeling as well. But what we're going to be able to differentiate between today is, yes, we've identified for so long in our finite form, our finite capacity, our finite labels and identity. But the one thing that is infinite and the one thing that is not bound by time, by space, by form, is that infinite consciousness. The only time we begin to forget how immortal we already are is when we're identifying with this form, when we're identifying with the limited capacities and capabilities of the body that we're in. You with me so far? Yeah? Just imagine someone that you really, really love. Someone that you love so dearly, and all they can do is judge themselves on what they look like, what they can do, what they can achieve or what they have achieved so far, and they berate themselves all the time. How do we feel about that person when they're doing that? Frustrated. Why do we feel frustrated? There's another way. What does that mean? Living in the now? Okay. What else do we feel when someone that we deeply, deeply love is really keeping themselves small in that way by judging all of the things that they're limited by in that moment? Sad. Yeah, why do we feel sad for them? They're missing out on the enjoyment of life, yeah? They are enough. Yeah. Someone that's always like, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I didn't do this right, I didn't do that right, I'm too fat, I can't gain weight, I can't gain muscle, I can't earn enough money, whatever it is, when it's someone that we love that's really being that way about themselves. we feel the pinch as well, right? It almost burns us because we're like, why can't you see how amazing you are? Why can't you see how wonderful you are? Why can't you see how loving and how generous and kind and talented and clever you are? Right? We feel that way when it's the people we love, right? And whilst it might be lovely for us to hear compliments from other people about how lovely we are, actually, what I would pose is the question that, isn't it because we already know on some level inside ourselves who we have the capacity to be? Deep inside yourself, on some level, you know, however limited you are by whatever identity that you're associating with, you know on some level how expansive you have the capacity to be, how loving, how generous, how compassionate, how present. Are you with me so far? Right? And you're all nodding, actually, because on some level, we already know, on some level, deep inside of ourselves. I say this to all of my students. I've said this to thousands of people all over the world. It's because on some level inside of yourself, you already know who you have the capacity to be. Right? That's why it's so nice when someone gives us a compliment, not because they're saying something nice, but because they're recognizing something in us that we also recognize. Would you agree? Yeah? Something that we already maybe identify with or feel for ourselves, but we don't give ourselves the permission to, particularly, especially not in Britain, we definitely wouldn't. Right? So we already know who we have the capacity to be deep down inside. And that is our reference point, right? There's a part of you that has been the absolute same from when you were 5 years old, to when you were 15 years old, to when you were 25 years old, 35, 50, however old we are. Would everyone say that they feel like there's something inside of them that hasn't changed at all? Some little essence? Yeah? What is that essence that hasn't changed? What is it? You've ever thought about it? Your spirit? Yeah? Anyone else? What is it? Have you ever thought about it? What is it, that thing that doesn't change? Your awareness? I would say that maybe your awareness from when you were 5 or 6 to when you're older does change. But awareness of what is what I would ask. Pardon? Imagination hasn't changed? Creativity, okay. What else? Your true self. Yeah, there's a witness inside of you. That's your reference point for change. If we didn't have a reference point, if you think of any scientific experiment, you who are doing your psychology degree and wanting to write a paper, right? Anytime we have any research that we're doing, we have a reference point from which we measure change, right? You're all with me? When we have that reference point, it's from that reference point we know I'm not the exact same as I was this many years ago. I know I'm not the exact same on this specific set of principles or beliefs, right? So we expand and grow, not just in the physical form. However, also on the physical form, we know that every 7 years, every single cell in our body, every single cell, and what was the number we learned this time? It's like 30 trillion cells. We're in the trillions of how many cells we have in our body. Every single cell in a period of 7 years is completely transformed. Did you know this? Yeah, some of you know this, some of you didn't. So every 7 years completely changed. So actually, on a physical level, you're absolutely not at all, in any way, shape or form, the same person that you were 7 years ago. So just imagine how many incarnations you've had this lifetime itself. How many different forms that you've occupied this lifetime itself, right? When we begin to acknowledge that. So anyway, this form that we identify so strongly with is changing constantly, right? So there are 2 ways that we can regularly tap into that experience of our own immortality and step away from this urgency of life being too short, and connect us with that expansive experience of the immortal self. Right? Do you want to hear what those are? Yeah? So there's two. Over my, like I was saying, over 30 years of experience and exposure and all of the things that I've learned over the years, there's two that really, really stand out for me. First one is meditation, that we're going to experience today. And the second one actually is mantra, that I shared earlier. Some of you were there in the big stage. We shared some mantras earlier. So what I want to see is, how many of you are familiar with meditation? Okay, everyone. Well, I should ask actually, how many of you not familiar with meditation? Okay. Anyone else hasn't raised their hand for either? Not sure. Maybe a previous form was. And how many of you are familiar with mantra? Okay, and again, I should ask, how many of you are not familiar with mantra? Right. So I'll talk about mantra first, because then I'll talk about meditation before we go into this beautiful experience. So mantra, you know, what is the first sense that we acquire of the five senses when we come into the body, when our soul enters the body? Do you know? What's the first sense? Sound. Yeah, someone said taste. The first sense that we develop before our body is even completely formed in the mother's womb is the sense of sound, hearing. That's why they say you can talk to the baby and all these sorts of things. Talk to the baby that's growing in mummy's tummy, right? So sound is the first one. Then we accumulate all the others. When it's time to go, when we're talking about death in this workshop, when it's time to leave this body, of all of the five senses, which sense is the last to leave? Sound. Everyone said that with much more confidence. Sound. Equally, we may have had the experience where people have said, you know, they might be with their eyes closed and it might not seem like they're able to respond, but you can still talk to them, right? Some of you have experienced that. It's the last sense that we experience in the body. It's the last one to go. So actually, this ability to perceive sound, to perceive vibration, has been with us through our whole existence, right? Mantras are extremely ancient sounds with different vibrational patterns and powers that when we chant them, when we hear them, when we listen to them, when we're whatever it is that you're doing with the mantras, is that there's a deep remembrance on some level of your consciousness inside the body. That's why when we're experiencing mantras, we'll feel like there's a lot of energy being released or different emotions coming up, of all the spectrum of emotions, of feelings, of everything that we go through, right? So mantras have this ability to connect us to this ancient knowingness that is already there, our immortal soul, our self, the spirit, as we were talking about before. Meditation, on the other hand, is a way to connect directly with that infinite consciousness at the core of our being. And the more we practice it, the more we can get it. We can get into that stage very, very quickly. Whatever is our go-to negative emotion, it'll be different for each one of us. You know, you can even think about it. What is it? What is my go-to that I can get to and like that? Is it anger? Is it disappointment? Sometimes it can just be that, just be like, ugh, disappointment. Is it sadness? Is it frustration? Everyone has at least one, right? Yeah? Everyone has at least one that they can get to just like that, right? Even if we don't have the full exposure to a trigger to cause that, we can just get a little bit of an essence of it and we're right there. Yes or no? Right? Because we've gone there so many times in our mind, in our bodies, that we've created these neural super high-speed pathways into that state. Because we've gone there so often. Our body, there's a slight trigger, there's a slight essence of it, and we're like, oh, I know what to do. I can get there in a moment, right? And before we know it, it's taken over. Similarly, with the practice of meditation, we're able to access that deep knowingness, that deep essence of immortality, that deep essence of infinite consciousness that is who we really are, just exploring life in this physical form this time around, and connect with our infinity. Right? So would you like to experience a meditation today? Shall we meditate together to connect into that space? Yes? Some of you are already like, yes, we're going to get into that space. One of my absolute favorite practices before going into meditation is to observe the breath. And I'm going to take us through a guided breath work. The same way I was talking about how we're missing out on life by just identifying with the big experiences and the big moments, we're missing out on what they call the liminal spaces, the ones where our life is actually taking place, when we're actually interacting day to day with our loved ones, with our near and dear ones, with our colleagues, with the people in our lives, with the person at the grocery shop, right? Where our lives are actually happening. So how we can create that expansive experience in every moment of our lives is by coming to observing the breath. So if you haven't already, get into a comfortable position. Take back support if you want. There are a few chairs. You can lean on the poles. They seem quite stable. Can you lie down? Yes, as long as you don't fall asleep. That's one of the reasons why they say you should meditate sitting up, because it can drift you off into that sleep state. So that's why teachers do often say you should stay sitting up. But you're welcome to lie down and be comfortable. And gently allowing your eyes to close down if they haven't already. Now, before we go on this journey together, we're just going to take a few moments to really ground ourselves with our eyes closed where we are by acknowledging all of the sounds that are around us. So the music from the other tents, people talking nearby, the sound of the structures. If you're lucky, some of the sounds of nature, hearing the wind or the birds. Hearing people moving around. Just acknowledge any and all of the sounds that are taking place in this moment where you are. And just allow yourself to be in harmony with them. They're not going to disturb you from diving deeper. Because in this moment and for the next few moments, we're allowing ourselves to just be in harmony with that changing environment that we are in, with all of the sounds. Acknowledging all of the sounds. Together, let's take a deep breath in and breathe out. Now, before we dive deeper into our meditation today on immortality, I want to first connect you with the first act of life. When we're born, in this body, in this form. The incoming breath. The first act of life when we were born was to take a deep breath in. And we continue to live our whole lives until life's final act in this form, which is our last breath out. So in this moment, just observing the incoming breath with the same awareness and attention that you give the outgoing breath. Just observing whether or not it's fast or slow. Not having to make any changes, just observe. The breath will settle and change in its own time. Recognize whether your breath is deep or shallow. Again, however it is totally fine, just observing. The breath has its own wisdom. It's been serving us our whole life. Just observing the breath. Keep your awareness on the breath. Observe whether it's steady and smooth, or if it's a little bit shaky with a little tremor, either on the tail of the breath or throughout. Again, it might take a few breaths to be able to observe. Notice whether your breath is quite strong and forceful on any particular direction of the breath, or if it's just quite subtle and light. Maybe one direction of the breath is heavier or lighter than the other. And for those of you that are fine with these observations, one that might be a little bit more tricky to catch, let's see if you can recognize the difference in temperature between the incoming breath as it enters through your nostrils and the outgoing breath again as it exits through the nostrils. The change is subtle, but see if you can perceive that change. The coolness of the breath as you inhale, or the subtle warmth of the breath as you exhale. Now you can use any or all of these observations. Maybe there's one that you prefer more than the other. Be with the breath. Just for a few moments. Now we can liken these incoming and outgoing breaths to all of the events that we were contemplating earlier, the events in our lives that we give importance to. So what I want to get you to do now is to begin to observe the space after you exhale and before you breathe in again. So noticing this space, this pause, this moment after you breathe out, before you breathe in again. Allow yourself to hold the mind, hold your awareness in this space between the exhalation and the inhalation. Maybe you're able to perceive the space in front of the body in which the breath moves after it leaves the nostrils, turns around, and then changes back into an incoming breath. So keeping your awareness on this space between the exhalation and your next inhalation. And now we'll begin to shift that awareness inside the body. And we'll begin to observe the space from when the incoming breath changes into an outgoing breath. As you inhale, once you reach the peak of your inhalation, observe that space before the breath changes its direction into an outgoing breath. Again, see if you can observe that space inside your body where the breath is changing direction, changing its identity from an incoming breath into an outgoing breath. And be with that space. Now I invite you, depending on where you are in your practice and however the tendency of your own mind is, if you wish, you can allow yourself to observe the space both between the outgoing and incoming breath and the incoming breath and outgoing breath. So switching your awareness from the space outside the body between breaths to the space inside the body. Otherwise, if one of the observations feel more comfortable, more steady for you, just hold your attention there. If it's easier for you, if it's more effortless for you to observe the space outside the body, hold your awareness there, and vice versa. Once you get used to observing this space between the breaths, become aware of your mind. Become aware of your thoughts, if any, in this space. Together, let's take a deep breath in and breathe out. You can drop the awareness of the breath and just become aware of your thoughts, become aware of your mind. And just observe them like you would observe the clouds in the sky or the people passing by. Just begin to recognize whether it's a thought of the past, thought of the future, whether it's a pleasant or unpleasant thought. Give them the same awareness. Just observe, one after another. Now begin to notice the space from which the thoughts arise and into which they dissolve once again. Observe this space between the thoughts. Again, keep your awareness in this space between the thoughts, from which the thoughts arise and again dissolve into. Just letting yourself be in harmony with these thoughts, however they are, and resting in the space between your thoughts. Breathe in and let go. Moving into a more subtle dimension, begin to observe if there are any feelings or emotions that might be there. More subtle than the thoughts are the feelings. whether there's lots or few or none. Again, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant or a mixture, just observe, acknowledge any and each feeling. And again, take your awareness to the space from which the feelings arise and dissolve. Breathe in and breathe out. Allowing yourself to begin to recognize you are not this body, or these thoughts, or any of these emotions. You are the infinite peace. At the very core of your being, repose in yourself. Just rest here for a few moments. Allow yourself to expand. Feel that expansion. Once again, take a deep breath in and breathe out. Begin to acknowledge any emotions that might be there right now. Moving again through the dimensions, allow yourself to observe the thoughts, if any. Acknowledge the thoughts that are going on. Once again, bring your awareness to the breath that never left you, that is moving in and out of the body. Connect with that breath, the movement of the breath once again, observing the breath as it moves in and out. Begin to notice the movement of the body with every breath. Perhaps your chest, shoulders, stomach region, ribs expanding as you inhale. Your shoulders, tummy, chest dropping as you exhale. Begin to notice this movement in the body. And as you become aware of this movement in the body with the breath, allow yourself to become aware and fill your whole body with your awareness, from your feet to your ankles and lower legs and knees, your thighs and your hips, filling both legs with your awareness. Genitals and pelvic region, stomach, chest and shoulders. Become aware of your shoulders, relax the shoulders. Fill your right arm and hand with your awareness, and your left arm and hand. Your neck and your throat. All the muscles of your face, your lips, tongue, cheeks. Your ears, your eyes, your eyeballs, eyelids, eyebrows, forehead. Your whole head, top of the head. Fill your whole body with awareness. Take a deep breath in. And breathe out. And then allow yourself to become aware of your surroundings, your environment once again, where you are. And taking your own time, slowly and gradually, whenever you feel ready, whenever you feel complete, you can once again open your eyes. Take your time, there's no rush. Welcome back. Is everyone back? Almost back? Right. How are you all? How's everyone feeling? Getting a few goods. What I'm getting a lot of is this. Yeah. He says in the Bhakti Sutra, Narad Bhakti Sutra, Amrita Swarupa. Immortal is its nature, when he talks about the experience of consciousness, when we're able to dip our toe in that expansive space at the core of our being. In those moments, we're able to tap into our own immortal nature, our own immortal self. And by tapping into this space again and again, we can really expand our experience of life in our finite form. Were you all able to meditate? Yeah? Did anyone struggle? Because I know there's quite a lot of sounds going on around us. Were you all able to follow all the instructions? Yes? No? Some of you are still like... Yeah? Okay, great. So do we have any questions? I wanted to leave some time for questions in this talk, because there's always lots of questions. But maybe there's not today, because everyone's feeling quite blissed out. But this is your opportunity to ask those questions. Yes, go ahead. Yes. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if you were here earlier in the talk. I was talking about the difference between our identification with our ego, which ultimately comes with our form and the roles that we live this lifetime, right? Which are associated with the body that we take this lifetime, right? And the options that are available to us as a result of that. And when we're in that, and when we begin to, because we have to, we're in society, we all participate in society, we have to identify in some level with that form. But then we begin to identify with our finite, limited capacity, right? So when we begin to connect with the immortal nature of our being, of our soul, self, spirit, source, consciousness, whatever the word is comfortable for each one of you, when we're able to reach into that space, we actually then feel that expansion because we're able to actually connect to the experience of our own infinity, right? So in those, there will have been moments, maybe some of you can relate to it, when we're coming back into the body, when we're bringing our awareness back into this form, right? Were you all aware of the breath all the way through, or did we come away from the experience of the breath, right? You come back to this like, oh my God, yeah, I'm still breathing. It's still going. I wasn't aware of it. Or when we bring our awareness to the body, you're like, oh my God, my knees, right? We feel everything again because we then put ourselves back in our identity, right? But when we're able to drop all of that, get into the space between it all, which is why we started at the beginning, space between the breaths, then space between the thoughts, space between the emotions, space between all of it, however gross or subtle it might be, then that's when we expand. And actually, it's almost like an atom bomb. When we access that space, that sort of huge expansion takes place. You were in the whole festival? Yeah. Beautiful. I'm so glad. Good. Yeah, take it with you. Practice it wherever you go. For me, it was life-changing, this meditation. It's from my guru, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. It's connecting to that infinity, connecting to that expansiveness. I'm glad that you could reach that space. Yes, anyone else? Any more questions? Oh, hi, Mum. I might ask you the question back. You're my teacher. Go on. Mm. 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 Leaving the body, yes. Mm. Mm. That's so nice. Thanks, Mum. That's lovely. Yeah, you know, one of the reasons why we take our awareness to all of the sounds around us is because often we want things to be a certain way, right? Throughout life, we want things to be a certain way. Particularly when we're meditating, we need the environment to be a certain way. When we're at home or meditating, if something's annoying, we're like, oh God, can we just deal with that later, right? We want everything to be a certain way. When we allow our senses to go there and drop whatever is happening on the level of the intellect, because it's the intellect that is perceiving everything around us and defining good, bad, right, wrong, annoying, not annoying, pleasant, unpleasant, I want it, I don't want it. That's all happening. All that differentiation, that discrimination is happening on the level of our intellect. So actually it helps us dive deeper when at the beginning we can acknowledge the senses, we can acknowledge our experience of where the body is in the moment, and then say, okay, however it is, let it be, I'm going to go a little bit deeper. Right? So we allow the senses to continue to operate and function, but without that judgment of what it is around us, which is why it helps us also go deeper. We can acknowledge the sounds and be like, it's fine. There can be some drilling going on, there can be a creaking pole, there can be all sorts, but it allows us to go deeper. Yeah. Yes. Mm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. with sound. Yes, that's a really beautiful question, actually. And for those of you that didn't hear, we were, since we're acknowledging the senses, when it's sound, when we're talking about people that have experienced a lot of trauma, sound can be one of the main triggers, one of the biggest triggers for re-triggering the experience of trauma. So can we reframe that sound, reframe the sense of sound to then become a comforting thing? Is that essentially what you're asking? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So like I was talking about mantras and things like that at the beginning, when we're connecting with sounds which are connecting to our much more infinite reality. Because again, that trauma is associated often with this lifetime, this form, this body. Of course, there are other ones that we carry. We know about ancestral traumas and all these other things that we come along with as well. Lucky us. But the ones that we can sometimes deal with more tangibly are the ones that we're potentially remembering from this lifetime, having experienced or not, right? So when we work with mantras, which was the second thing that I mentioned, the second tool to connect us to our immortal self, is by being in that vibration of ancient sounds, ancient mantras. Yes, I work with mantras personally, but oftentimes there are people who learn and chant very, very deep, profound mantras that I have absolutely no idea what it means, or even how to begin to learn to chant them, right? But when you allow yourself to be in that vibration, something shifts inside of us. So, and like I was saying, with the people that I've worked with in prisons and gangs, actually a lot of the time it's listening to these even older mantras that we don't even need to try and participate in. You just be in that. It's known as mantra snan, bathing in the mantras. You're just allowing the vibration of those ancient mantras to sort of work inside of us. And there's a whole lot of research actually on how mantras actually rework the DNA and work on gene expression as well, which I'd be happy to share with you as well if you'd like to know. Yeah, amazing. But great question. Yes. Anyone else? Who's next with their question? Yes. Hi. What am I going to sing again? Oh, I should have sung at the end of the meditation. Maybe I'll chant a mantra before we all go. Yes, yes, yes. Was there a question? There was someone... I felt like a hand went up on this side. Yes. Mm. Yes. Oh, thank you. You get a mic.
Oh. You sing for us. I just wanted to ask you about, now that I've got this microphone, it's obviously amplifying the vibration. Everybody can hear me. So when you listen to live music, it has a very different effect than when you listen to music digitally.
Sure.
Is that the same? What are your views on listening to mantra, and does it have similar healing effect if you're listening in your headphones?
I
mean, or if you're listening, does it have to be live?
It absolutely does not have to be live. We live in a world where we have to make use of the things that we have access to. And we're in a world right now where we have everything at our fingertips. And we're so lucky. I remember, so for many years, maybe you guys know, I used to curate the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival. It's one of the oldest running wellness and spiritual festivals in England. It's been running for nearly 50 years. And I think about how back in the day, people would have to physically show up to learn from teachers, to hear different music, to hear different philosophies, to experience different meditations, because we didn't have the capacity to experience it in any other way. Right? But now, with the way that the world is, it's actually a beautiful thing that we have access to so much without even having to leave our seat, leave our homes. So pros and cons, right? I mean, of course, it would be wonderful if we could all travel into, the Himalayas and sit with our guru for 6 weeks at a time and be in that Upanishad sitting close to the master and imbibing the knowledge in the physical form. But that's not the world that all of us live in anymore. Right? So, yes, of course, being in the physical presence of the source, whether it's a master, whether it's someone chanting, whether it's anything, right? Just like, imagine if you've got a good relationship with your mum, if you call your mum, how it feels versus when you're actually with your mum, right? When you're with the people you love, yes, it's amazing that we can FaceTime people on our phone. We can actually be like, no, I don't want to talk to you right now. What? Right? Versus when we're actually with them. So I think it's a beautiful thing that we can experience everything, digitally and technologically. Whether it has the same impact, I think it's very much to do with intention, the intention behind it, especially because mantras carry a lot of that energy. I think with mantras specifically, you can often tell if it's a sharing of deep devotion or if it's a performance. It's not a gig. It's not a concert, Sometimes it becomes that, but actually the magic really happens when it's from that Amrita Swarupa, from that eternal, immortal essence, when we're diving into that consciousness and then sharing mantras from that space. Does that answer your question? Yes? Thank you. Great question. Anyone else? Anyone else? Yeah. Okay. Oh. Did you want to go ahead? No, go ahead. Did you raise your hand? Yes. Sorry, Kath. We've got one in the front just now. Yes.
Sorry. I was just going to follow on from
that. Okay. Yes. It's okay. Go ahead.
I'll go ahead.
Yes.
So my question was linked to the expansion part of what you were, the meditation. And when you did that, when you were saying that, my body it felt like I was almost exploding, kind of ready to, that's the only word I can use. And
expanding,
I needed to move.
Yes,
I needed to move. I needed to actively change position.
Yes.
And I was suddenly really back in my body and going, actually, I'm really uncomfortable. I need to move.
Yes.
But it was at the point when you were talking about expansion.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That can happen because then we feel almost constricted by our body because we're in that expanded state and we realize, I'm actually really uncomfortable, which is why I always give everyone a few minutes to actually let yourself get as comfortable as you think you might need to be in the meditation. And also then if you do need to make adjustments on your way, feel free, right? Then if you do make that adjustment and you feel you've come out, again, it's that practice of walking yourself back in, like through those levels, so that you can reach that expanded state. What we were saying about vibration. We're all made up of vibration. If you think of every atom, you've got the nucleus and the electrons around it. They're held. An atom is held in its space because of the vibration between the inner and outer, right? A molecule is formed because when they're together, the vibration between the two, and so on and so forth. Molecules, compounds, this, that, and the other, cells form. And essentially, the whole of our being is held together and perceivable because of the vibrations between every single particle in our being, right? And it's commonly said that, 99% of every atom is space, right? So essentially, 99%, if not more, I think it's more than that, of who you actually are is that space, right? Is that space, and what is in that space? That's where that eternal consciousness lives. It's when we're identifying with that 0.0001%, which is actual physical form, right? That then we feel like everything is finite. We feel that uncomfortability. We get back into our bodies, right? But through that practice, if we're able to identify with that space has no beginning, it has no end, there's nothing that contains it. It's just the vibrations between every particle that holds us in place. Make sense? Too much? Make sense? Good. Sorry, Kathy, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to follow on from the question about mantra. And I just found it so much more powerful in a group, in live, in satsang.
Yeah.
And, the bigger the better.
Yes.
It's more powerful. But
yes.
I sometimes cook with mantras on in the background because then I feel the positive energies going in the food.
It absolutely does.
Rather than listening to the news and the negative stuff, get the positive stuff in, and then you're consuming that. It's
100%.
like when you have a meal, don't watch the negative stuff on telly. Be calm, mindful, and go
deeper.
Yeah, look, the more subtle and sensitive we become, we can even tell the mood of the person who is cooking our food, right? Because then we eat that vibration goes into it. So yeah, beautiful thing to do it when we're cooking and put it in the water and all sorts of stuff. I will sing a mantra before, just to wrap up and close, unless anyone's got a burning question. Burning question? Yes, burning. Yes.
Your question about these ancient mantras intrigues me, because I know and can chant some of the most ancient Vedic mantras. So, what are you talking about when you mean these ancient mantras? You almost indicated that you can't chant. So, a sort of question.
Well, I mean, for that, I think they say it takes. Yeah, there's the Sam Veda. There's so many Vedas. If we're looking at yogic philosophy, Eastern philosophy, the Vedas, the Vedantas, there's so many texts. I think they say that it would take. It's not humanly possible to read or consume all of the texts within one lifetime. I think they say it takes 72 lifetimes to be able to go through all of them. That's how many there are. So yes, there are of course many mantras and many chants. Hey Sach, that some of us will never be exposed to, never be privileged enough to even hear, let alone exist, and they can have a deeply profound effect on our system. But I speak about Sanskrit mantras because that's my lineage. That's one that really resonates with me. That's one that really opened up my experience of spirituality. But I'm sure that there are cultures in other parts of the world that also will have, they might not call it mantras, but they will have ancient sounds that kindle and trigger that experience of deep consciousness. Yes, no, my pleasure. Okay. So we can just close our eyes just for a moment. I shall end with a mantra. This morning I didn't call the Devi, I didn't call the feminine goddess energy. So I'm feeling that that's what I will chant right now. Honoring that feminine divine that exists within each one of us. It's not just the masculine forms and masculine energies of divinity, of consciousness, but the femininity too. And allowing ourselves to honor that and bow down to that inside each one of us as well. Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvata Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Sarvamangala Mangalye Shive Sarvata Sadike Sharanye Trambake Devi Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute honoring that infinite, immortal consciousness within you, within each one of us, within every particle of the whole of creation. And remembering that that is your true nature. Unlimited, unbound, infinite. With a big smile on your face just for yourself, you can take a deep breath in and let go. And whenever you feel ready and complete, you may gently open your eyes. Namaste, everybody. Namaste. Thank you so much for being with me. Oh. Thank you. Thank you so much, and I hope you all enjoy your evening and enjoy the rest of the festival, and I'll be here for a few more minutes if anyone wants to ask any questions. And Kath over here has some flyers for a wonderful summer retreat that is happening, hosted by the Art of Living next month, is it, Kath? I don't actually know. There you go. So some more information from Kath as well, from the Art of Living Foundation. Yes, lovely.